Yes, indeed. Let's get you a modcast on this Tuesday. Hope everybody is safe and sound and melting a little bit in the state of Texas and maybe getting a little warmer from everything. Temperatures going back up. Also, speaking of being back, our man Rodolfo has been unblocked or unmuted or whatever it was. One of us somehow kicked him out, and our tech support team kicked him back in. Rodolfo, welcome
But
back.
first of all, it's not one of us, okay? Because it's not Jason or myself. It's either you or Catch.
Okay. Either
Right?
myself.
Let's just be clear. And that's the second time you guys have done that in like the last 3 weeks.
I don't even know how to do that if I wanted to. So, yeah.
The fat fingers of either me or Jeff Ketchum took Rodolfo out. And as we've talked about it, if this damn thing wouldn't just put the block and the reply so damn close, I'm going to just have to stop replying because I just try to reply and it takes somebody out. So Rodolfo,
Old eyes.
yeah, Rodolfo, no more replies. No more replies. I will just do general replies in that case. Feel free to jump on in the Specs chat. Send us a super chat if you like. Just another fragrance reviewer. Great to see you. Obviously, Jason Sukamel and Anwar Richardson alongside here. I'm Chad Hastings. Our guy Alex Dunlap is at Senior Bowl practices this week. That's why he is not on with us. Let's give a little love to Daly and Black, and then we will get started. Daly and Black, the sponsors each and every week of the Modcast. They are the lawyers that will be on your side if you need representation. This is the place to check out. Daly and Black Trial Lawyers. There's your QR code, and that logo, as always, will stay up for you in the lower left the entire time. All right, gentlemen. So the portal is, I think, technically closed. I think it's finally closed. Even with like business days and ice days and all that stuff. I think we're done with the portal. But I wanted to just throw out a couple names here today and just kind of get into, where things might be if Texas is still looking at a guy or two in the portal. Or maybe we find out they're not interested in anything in the portal. So we will jump right in. Also, I would direct people to orangebloods.com for all the great content, but definitely in terms of these two guys. Jason's 321 article is out. Also, Anwar had a great Tuesday intel piece that he threw out. We'll kind of get into it because it gets into offensive line and the transfer portal and all that. So do check out orangebloods.com if you have not. But Anwar, when I was, I can, just like anybody else, I can go look at the On3. I usually end up at the On3, like updated portal, guys or whatever. And I see a name like Tyrell Green, who went to Purdue. I see a name like Matt Henry that went to Troy. So like a power 4 guy, a non-power 4 guy. And I go looking into, and I see Catch put out a piece on Orange Bloods about snaps and all that kind of stuff. From what you're understanding from Texas, is it that they are aware of these guys, they're just not interested? Or maybe they just haven't gotten to the point where they're thinking, yeah, let's go ahead and just peek at whatever's left in the portal?
I mean, they know they're there. These guys aren't sneaking up on them, right? I mean, these guys, and many of these guys, and one of these guys that you talked about, which one was it? It was some guy from Purdue you had mentioned.
Yeah, Tyrell Green.
Tyrell Green went into the portal officially on January the 5th. So, and when I went back and looked a little bit more of that, he had announced his intentions to enter the portal back in like late November. So
he left the team in September. So it's like,
you said what?
He left the team in September.
Yeah, so like he's not a guy that you're looking at and saying to yourself, whoa, where did this guy come from? He's literally been on the radar for months. And so you got to just use logic here. Texas knows what's available. They went after the guys that they really, really wanted. And at the end of the day, if they pick up somebody, cool. But it's not going to be because, oh, man, like we went and saw something that they didn't see. They're very well aware of all these guys. But those guys that, if they wanted them, they would have had them a long time ago. They can bring them in now, and they need bodies, so they can bring them in. But I just don't sense that that's a high priority at this moment. I'm not sensing that that's something that they're saying we must do. If they decide to like wake up today and Sark may say, let's go ahead and pull the trigger on that. But just understand it's January 27th. They could have pulled this trigger a long time ago if they really wanted to.
Yeah, if they're gonna get somebody in classes now, Jason, they better get going if it's the 27th. But this is a guy that like technically Purdue's on the resume, but Jason, you pointed it out. You went and did a little digging yourself. I mean, and as Ketch pointed out in his note, an FCS All-American at center, but no snaps on the inside at Purdue, none.
Yeah, that's a bit of a red flag. You wonder what the heck happened with him at Purdue, because it was Eastern Kentucky, I think. He was, freshman All-American, third team All-American. So then he goes to Purdue and doesn't get any snaps and leaves the program in September. So, I mean, we're grasping for straws here, I feel like, at this point. I knew we were going to talk about some of these guys, but do these guys help the Texas program? I mean, maybe they're second string or maybe third string. They give you some depth if somebody gets injured, but I don't think Texas at this point is finding anybody in the portal who's going to be a starter. That might be maybe on the 2 deep, maybe. I'm not even sure about that. Now, to your question, Chad, I mean, Texas knows about these people. I'm not sitting here saying I've talked to anybody at Texas about Tyrell Green or Matt Henry, but I'm kind of like Anwar. I'm just assuming they know about it. If they don't know about them, that's a real problem, right? Because it isn't that hard to go to On3 or 24/7 or do some, just kind of dig around and find some of these guys who are out there and some of these rankings. But I'm with Anwar, man. If this was going to happen, it would have, could have, should have happened 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago almost. So, I don't know. We want to build these guys up. I get it, but it just doesn't move the needle too much for me at this point. Anything left in the portal.
Yeah. And I mean, when I look at this Matt Henry dude, by the way, big guy from New Zealand, 6'4", 360 is how Troy listed him. A little less than 1,000 snaps last season and PF grades in the high 60s and low 70s. All that sounds great. But Anwar, again, from the intel that you've gotten from Texas, it's not that they may not be aware of this. And this is also a guy. There's a couple guys. Matt Henry's one from Troy. There's a guy from K-State named Terrence Enos. And in both cases, the question for me is are they eligible? Because they're both listed as seniors and they both had a certain amount of time. Might be guys you'd have to do as grad transfers. And maybe you got to wait for, the spring to ultimately play
Troy
out.
guy is a grad transfer. That part I do know. Who's the other guy that you mentioned?
Terrence Enos from K-State, who I think he's played in 4 more games in 4 seasons. So he might have 1 more left, but it's just a matter of, obviously checking into all that stuff. But I think now we got to be really clear. And I think I wanted to use this show to make it clear to everybody that yes, there are names out there. Yes, these are names you need to maybe know, but it also might be just names to kind of know and discard. No, you know of them. Okay. But you set them aside because Anwar, it feels like from what you're hearing, they're not freaking out in the 40 acres. For whatever we would say about that, they're not freaking out about what they got and what they think they can develop.
Well, for Terrence Enos Jr., he is a grad transfer as well. So,
okay. Both of those guys would have to be, yeah.
Both of those guys are grad transfers. It's one of these things. It's interesting because it's one of those things that you don't know, and it's hard to know when people aren't freaking out about that. Is that because that's the pivot? That's what they're now telling themselves is, hey, we're going to be good. We're going to be all right. There's no need to freak out. Whereas we know you did go after guys. We know you pursued guys. We know you guys brought guys in. So we know you had interest. Now, is it kind of like the deal where somebody asked the woman for her phone number and she says no, and and the guy tells himself, I didn't want her phone number anyway. She thinks she will be. I'll be all right. It might be that kind of philosophy that's going into it right now. I don't sense that there's a panic. Now, look, we can get into should there be a panic. That's a totally different conversation, right? But right now, there isn't a panic. There seems to be this belief that, well, Texas will just lean on Kyle Flood and the development aspect. And if they can get the development aspect going this offseason, they've got enough guys that they feel like could be serviceable and be, adequate enough. Now, you can debate that, right? Because you can say, well, that was the philosophy last year, and that didn't necessarily yield you the same results that the results that you thought you were going to have. And now you're kind of running back the same philosophy. And it's also hard because you can have that debate of, well, okay, but Jason and I talked about this the other day. Like, well, who's your Cam Coleman of your offensive line? Like, who's your Hollywood Smothers of your offensive line? Did you get that? And the answer is no, unless you really want to talk yourself into, Sinani and tell yourself like, okay, but this is elite. We know that they wanted a guard. There's ways you can talk yourself into feeling like you're going to get, if you got one guy on the right tackle position and you bump in Brandon Baker, you can talk yourself into this could still be a good offensive line, but it lacks depth. It lacks a lot of proven things. But on if the Texas side is we're not going to freak out because we feel like we're going to be okay. So be it. But that at this point, they may not have a choice, but other than to try to make it work, because to the point you're putting out guys that Chad, if you got to do the research to find the guys, and the whole staff's in a bad place. Okay.
Yeah, right. No, it's fair. Big Cheddar, the Texas coaching staff didn't freak out last portal, and you see where it got them. Big Cheddar, I think that's kind of maybe the feeling of some. And Jason, if I'm a Texas fan today, it's like I think I might trust the idea. I might trust the idea a little more if like Cole Hudson at left guard had happened on purpose. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If Connor Robertson at center had happened because it was an idea instead of a necessity, stuff like that. And obviously, if the whole left guard thing didn't happen overall, I might believe in this idea a little bit more. So I think it's a tough ask for Texas fans to ratchet themselves up for, okay, Kyle Flood's a great developer. Here we go.
There's a couple super chats came in real quick, but I mean, Big Cheddar nailed it. I mean, this is the same conversation, not to this in depth. We weren't having this conversation last year, but last year we were wondering, like, God, should Texas have gone to the portal? Well, we know what the answer is. The answer is yes, they should have. I don't know, man. I mean, you fooled me once, shame on me, but fooled me twice. Like, hey, are we going to be week 4 of the season and saying, damn, they did not do enough in the portal again? That would be catastrophic, and it could derail their championship hopes. So, but like, Anwar said, hey, it's not like they didn't try. They went after the Michigan guys and some other guys that just didn't work out. Teams did a good job of keeping some guys home. I don't know, like, some of these guys we're talking about in the portal now, like, are they better than the guys that left the program? Are they better? I mean, I know Nick Brooks struggled, but he was also a freshman. Are they better than Nick Brooks? Are they better than Connor Stroh? I bet if we looked at the rankings, those guys that left were probably ranked higher in the transfer portal than the guys we're talking about Texas possibly getting at this point of the portal acquisition. So, again, I'm negative Nancy today, but these guys just don't move the needle for me. They're probably scout team players. Maybe on the 2 deep, maybe. The guy from Troy, Matt Henry's big, got size, he's experienced. Maybe he could help you on the 2 deep. But Texas needs help on the 2 deep. So I understand why we're talking about bringing them in. But let's not sit here and say, hey, that's going to be the thing that fixes Texas's offensive line. No, that may give you some protection if, God forbid somebody gets hurt and has to miss a few games. Maybe Matt Henry can come in and, fill in for a couple weeks. But is he better than the developmental guys that Anwar wrote about? The young guys that the Texans have confidence? I don't think there's any guarantee of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. A couple different conversations there. We got a couple super chats that we will get to. Also want to thank some of our great partners as we roll through today. Let me hit you with a little AV consultations here. Remember, it's that time of year where you're getting ready for a Super Bowl. You're going to have your Super Bowl party. You may go over to a friend's house and realize, oh my God, Jerry got an 82-inch TV for Christmas, 85. Now, my neighbor said 98. I still haven't walked over there to see if it's real, but they're making some huge TVs now. If you've always wanted one and your neighbor or a family member has outscreened you, AV Consultations is the way to get that taken care of. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. They've been doing it since 19 1988, all the way back to Barry Sanders' Heisman year for you old folks like me. AV Consultations, the best in the business, locally owned and operated since 88. They will help you out. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. Be sure to tell them that you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. We would, that wasn't it. That's what I needed to do. And we would appreciate it. We got super chats in, and Jason, I believe, has high money right now. Thank you, Jason. $19.99. Sorry, but not buying it. We went into the portal knowing it was the top thing we needed, and now all of a sudden have the answers on campus. I call absolute BS.
I mean, yes and no, Jason. First off, thanks for super chat. Thanks for being a loyal OB guy too. They did get a starter at right tackle, right? We think they got a starter potentially at left guard. I mean, again, I said this on Anwar's show this morning, Chad. I'm actually okay with that front five. Is it going to be the best offensive line in college football next year? No, I'm not expecting that. But
yeah,
and your tackles are going to be really good.
Just for the record, you're factoring in the Oregon State guy for left guard.
Yeah, I'm just penciling him in. He's the bit of the wild card. But I'm penciling him in as a left guard. Yeah, your right side is going to be fine. Your left tackle's an All-American. I just saw today. I don't remember which publication it was, but had Trevor Gooseby as a first-team All-American. We saw what Connor Robertson is capable at center. So your left guard is really only your question mark. And if that guy, he's got a lot of experience. He's got multiple years of eligibility. Now we're talking only one next year, but I think he can come in and probably hold that spot down. What concerns me is what happens if Trevor Gooseby sprains an ankle and misses 3 games. What happens if Brandon Baker pulls a hamstring and is out for a month or something? Who is going to step in beyond those front 5? That's where it gets concerning. So, Jason's right, though. This was the top priority. Sark mentioned it. Sark literally mentioned it in one of his press conferences. Mm-hmm. They're going to go out and get a bunch of offensive linemen or get offensive linemen. They tried. I don't give them an F for their execution, but I certainly don't give them an A either. It's kind of somewhere in between.
Anwar, I'm just fascinated by this whole progression of things. They try for the Michigan guy. They don't get it. After
multiple that, guys, plural Michigan
guys, right? There were 2 of them. You're right. Good point. But one of them for guard, I guess, is the way I'm thinking about it, right? They thought one of them could be a guard for them. So that doesn't work. You end up with Siani that you feel like helps you at right tackle. So you can move Baker to right guard. If you got Sikorsky thinking he could be your left guard, you at least dealt with the starting part, and then we can talk about depth. So, Anwar, do you have a sense for, I guess this is a strange question for you as a reporter. Would you dare ask a source, hey, do you think Sikorsky's a starter at left guard, or do you think he's a body on that line?
I mean, right now he's a depth piece. I mean, one of the people I spoke to last night, that's how he's kind of been described to me at this moment. I think there will be other guys that they're going to try to see if they've got. He'll be in the mix, obviously, to be there. But whether it's one of the Coleman brothers, whether it's Sikorsky, whether there's another person that we're not known of or not thinking of, or there's some sort of things that's in there, and I would, as relates to Sikorsky, right? Am I saying it correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Sikorsky. I put him in pencil right now, and keep an eraser nearby because I'm not quite sure. Look, he wasn't like a standout player, at Oregon State. So I don't know if we can say for sure we know what that's going to look like for him. But, at the end of the day, by hook or crook, Kyle Flood is going to have to develop somebody. Like Jason, I know we're saying hey, we don't know what it is or what it doesn't look like. At the end of the day, Kyle Flood's going to have to make it happen. He's going to have to make one of these guys pop, and he's going to have to go into the time machine and really say, all right, what I have, I'm going to make this better over the course of this offseason in order to, and it may not be someone who's on our radar. We may not be hype on that person January 27th, But Kyle Flood's going to have to be the person that pulls that out and makes it happen, because if he doesn't, and we're talking about the same issues, this year, that's going to be, then it's going to be a potential missed opportunity, because they have to have an offensive line, Chad, that's good enough to be good to elite in 10 games this season. You consider the 9 SEC games and then Ohio State, like 10 games. This offensive line probably needs to be good or better than that. And if it's not at least good, then we know what happens and how that looks.
Yeah, and so to be clear, it's not like they got Sikorsky and then went, okay, we got the 5 figured out.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and that was my interpretation. I just want to make sure. I kind of get where Jason's coming from with the with that super chat there. Here's another one from our guy ATX Bates for $10. I know I'm crazy, but considering the Bama men's basketball player that came back from the NBA G League, should Texas look into finding a CFL or NFL practice squad guy with eligibility? Oh, good grief.
Yeah, Bates, you're crazy.
Come on now. Hey, what was it that Calipari said? The rules be the rules. I think we need to have some rules here.
I think the rules are, once you sign with an agent, usually football. I don't know what to do in basketball. I know in basketball, if you don't sign with an agent, you should be able to come back after the draft. This guy's playing G League. Nah, I don't think we can bring Quandre Diggs back from the practice squad and have him playing, right? I don't. That's probably not how it's going to work. I like where your head's at, but probably not going to work.
I don't think that's happening. Jason sends us another $9.99. Thank you, Jason, for jumping back in. Jason, my point is we needed to significantly upgrade our O-line and not just make it serviceable. I think they were able to give us an O-line comparable to last year, not significantly better.
I think it's better than last year, and I think it's better than the last year offensive line that ended the season, which to me was good enough to be a championship offensive line. Again, it's not going to lead your team to a championship. That's Arch Manning, and that's Cam Coleman, and that's your running game, and Ryan Wingo. I mean, but that offensive line that finished last year with the experience Arch gained, with additional players brought in, it's good enough to compete for an SEC championship and a college football playoff spot, maybe even a national championship. I'm talking about last year's line with this year's weapons. This year's line is going to be better. Listen, I'm not really arguing with Jason. I mean, no, they didn't significantly upgrade it. I agree. I think it's a little better than last year's offensive line. I think that's good enough, if guys stay healthy, for Texas to compete for a championship.
Yeah, Jason, thank you for that super chat. Going to be an interesting battle there at left guard. I just keep going back to this notion of, if this is where they thought the Michigan guard was, that they wanted to play guard, and this is where they thought Sikorsky was, all right? Is the gap really empty between the two? Because Anwar, correct me if I'm wrong, after the Michigan guy says no, was there anybody in here that they really looked at for guard that also said no to them? Did they have a bunch of guys tell them no?
They didn't have a bunch of guys tell them no, but they were surprised at the guys who did tell them no. That part, especially, when you feel like you've offered a guys more money, in particular, significantly more money in one case, and that person decides, I'm not going to go. I think that was probably that was not part of the plan. That's not how it goes as anticipated. And so now, you got to go into your plan Bs. But was there a plan A? Sure. And then did they think maybe some guys might enter the portal that didn't enter the portal? Of course, Texas didn't go into the portal looking at only 2 guys, and then they said, well, we don't get those 2, we're just going to go Sikorsky. There was some gap in between there. There was some guys that they did speak to, but at the end of the day, they were not able to get those guys. They were talking to different guys.
Joe Brunner was mentioned. The guy from
true.
Indiana, from Westlake, that didn't end up going to the portal. So
so there was definitely a plan that, look, again, if it doesn't get executed, then you get forced to execute another plan. And you can talk yourself into, again, oh yeah, it'll be fine. It's okay. Like no, this will be good. But yeah, we can't ignore that there was an attempts made that were not successful. Now, if your plan B ends up being just as good as what your plan A is, so be it. But we have to acknowledge that there was a plan A that was not achieved.
All right, so Buck Wild Longhorn is going $10 on a super chat and going into the deep water here. All right, here's my challenge. Season starts this Saturday. Who is on the second string from left to right? Is there any guys that are at least C+ in y'all's eyes? Damn, Buck Wild, second string?
Probably Chapman at left tackle, right? Jaden Chapman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Left guard, maybe one of the Coleman twins. Mm-hmm. Center is Jackson Christian, who we've been told to move to center. Kojo would be in there, right? Probably right.
I was just say Kojo fitting in on the right side somewhere.
I mean, if he's healthy. Who's your other guard? Is it the other Coleman twin? I don't know.
Right, I was gonna say, yeah. I have to go with 2 members of the family there on that second string.
I'm probably forgetting about somebody, but that's we need Alex out here today. But I don't know who that other guard would be, honestly. I have to look at the roster and refresh.
So Alex on his thing, he's got Chapman at left tackle. He's got Chapman or Robertson at the left guard position. He's got Christian. He's got N. Robertson. Robertson.
Oh, Nick Robertson.
Nick Robertson, excuse me.
Yeah.
Which is, hey, listen, he's a true freshman, but he's really good and really big and really strong. So he is a freshman, so that's a little bit risky. Yeah.
He's got Christian at the center. Yeah. He's got Coleman at right guard, and then Kojo at the right tackle position.
Yeah, that's how I'd probably put it. It's just that second guard spot's real. If you're talking about a true freshman having to be your backup guard, and
he says either Chapman or Robertson would be the backup guard on his projections just about a week and change ago.
There you go, Buckwild. Thank you for that super chat. Looks like Chino is in with $10. Thank you, Chino. Love all my Texas fans like family. We got a lot of baby dudes running around over this offensive line. The weapons we have on offense is going to significantly make the line better, right?
Couldn't agree more, Chino. I said it this morning to Anwar. I said, hey, Arch Manning, the weapons you have around Arch, those can cover some warts along that offensive line. They can make that offensive line look better. So, I'm in full agreement with Chino's comment there.
Yeah, Chino, I have 1 year to respond to your question. 2009. Go back, check it out, and look at what talent that's not offensive line can do to help offensive line. Because that one is not going down in the history books as one of the greatest offensive lines ever put together. But that team played for a title. Whatever else happened, that team got all the way to the title game. That's the year I always think of when people talk about that talent. The talent.
One from JB Vohorn. Oops, sorry. I think he's addressed it to me. So how can say better? This is easy because your left tackle should be better. Stands to reason, right? He's getting some experience.
Mm-hmm.
Your right tackle is going to be better. I think the guy they brought in is better than what Baker was last year. I think Baker at right guard is better than DJ Campbell. I just do. I've never been a big DJ Campbell fan. Connor Robertson should be better. Your only question is your transfer left or whoever left guard, if it's a transfer guy, is he better than what Cole Hudson was last year? But I don't know. I don't know anything about that guy really, other than what I've read on him. But all those other positions I think should be better based on experience alone in a couple occasions. So yeah, I think this line, the starting five, should be better than last year's starting five.
Yeah, at that point, then the 4/5 could raise the 1/5 a little bit, and overall, it's a better offensive line. That's obviously what you're hoping if you're a Texas fan. If you guys want to jump in with a super chat, feel free. That cleans off the super chats for now. Let me get you a Hayes City Store update, including the update on Anwar's request from Hayes City Store. First off, I'm just going to show you some chicken fried steak and enchiladas. They have all kinds of good stuff. As the weather warms back up and we get into February, remember how great the weather can be. in February in Central Texas. You head on out to Driftwood, get that right day. It's just perfect. Hang out in the ice house area, or maybe you hang out under the shade trees and have one of these great ones or anything else on their great menu. And I have shown you drinks in the past from Hays City Store. And Anwar put in a request when I did. The photograph team at Hays City Store, Anwar, is doing their work to get you some tahine. I just have not received the pictures yet.
I mean,
so I want you to know what's happening.
Okay, that's all. That's all they need. Everything else looks fine. Everything else looks great. Just put some tahini on the rim, put a lime in there. We're good to go.
There you go. Anwar just needs some tahini on the rim. We can understand that. They do all kinds of cool drinks out there, including tahini. So I hit Travis up with a request, and he said, absolutely. So
as someone who hasn't had anything to eat today and has been cooped up in his house for 4 days and eating leftovers, that was torture looking at that chicken fried steak. I'm going to have to log off right now.
Man, there's got to be an Uber driver that could get this stuff to you, Jason. There's a person out there willing to risk their life today for a tip.
Like literally, like I told my wife a little bit ago, I said, man, like I was going to do this video and like, I'm getting out of the house. I don't give a damn. There's still a little bit of ice out there. I'm going to go find a restaurant and sit down by myself on and have a late lunch. But now I've got to do an interview that I've been waiting to do, and it has to be done at 2:00 exactly. So, damn it. I can't even go out and have lunch.
You can't get out. And I just tortured you with a chicken fried steak. I'm sorry.
So I'll be eating more leftover soup when we're done with this video.
Yeah. And Teacock says, show that bacon jam burger. I don't have a picture of the bacon jam right now, but that's his favorite. That is a great one as well at Hays City Store. All right. So as we talk about, again, the closing up of the portal and kind of where Texas is on this whole offensive line thing, it's been a big discussion for, God, it feels like a month and a half, 2 months now. But the question that I guess came off of one of the super chats for me, guys, let's say that left guard is going to end up being someone that's not Sikorsky and someone that's not a grad transfer. So, Anwar, let me start with you. In your intel, you threw out multiple names. Do you have a sense for, like, among those coaches, if it had to be one of those guys they've already got that's not Sikorsky, do you think they have a favorite, or do you think it's a true, group battle right now at left guard?
Yeah. It's a battle. I don't think there's anything that's etched in stone at this moment. And look, I mean, we haven't gotten to winter workouts, so far. So, you got to get to the winter workouts and you got to get to spring ball. And then, when those pads come on, then you kind of get a chance to really see, I mean, whatever Sikorsky looked like on film over there, that might be cool. It was not that good enough for Oregon State. We'll see what it looks like when he has to go against, true SEC defensive linemen, because that's what you're going to have to go up against. And so, no, I my sense is there'll definitely be a battle that where nothing is really, really decided. There'll be somebody who might get those first. And it's interesting too, because, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually unless it's like an elite guy, Sark usually from a depth chart standpoint, usually those transfers that come in usually don't get like a number one spot. Like Cam Coleman will, but usually those guys who come in,
it's so like they bring it in there. Wait, you got that guy running fourth string? We know he's going to be your starter.
Right. I feel like these guys always start out a little bit lower on the depth chart before they really. I feel like it's usually training camp when those guys who are brought in usually take over that number one spot. Again, I don't see them doing that can't do that in running back. You can't do that obviously with Cam, right? But I feel like those other spots is usually like, yeah, you work your way up into it, but like, all right, it's like we know at some point this thing is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. That first practice is always kind of comical. You're like, we know that guy's your starter, but you're running him out there with the fourth team. But I think as soon as we leave practice on where they kick us out, they probably elevate them.
Like it wasn't the guy that they got from UTSA, but they still had other guys running in front of him, and we knew
Trey Moore.
Trey Moore, yeah.
They've done it with all of them. I mean, honestly, it feels like that question, Chad, that you posed. If it's not Sikorsky, maybe I'm looking at this through the wrong lens, but like I think that's a good thing. If he doesn't win the job, that tells me one of these young dudes has stepped up and taken that job over. Because I mean, when you bring a guy with that kind of experience, and I get it. I mean, he didn't light the world on fire at Oregon State, but he's not coming in with a mindset he's a backup. That guy's a starter. He's come in. You don't go from being a starter at one program. And you're like, oh, I'm going to go to Texas and be a backup. No, man, he's coming in with the idea of he's being a starter. Texas is bringing him in with the idea he's going to be a starter as he was previously. If he's not, that tells me a young dude surprised and beat him out for the job. So I think that situation you presented, I look at that as a good thing if that's how it unfolds.
Yeah, could be good news. I always say it. You want a guy that gets to play, not has to play. And last year, left guard too many times felt like, well, that's the guy they have to put there. They just got to put a warm body. He can fog a mirror. Let him play left guard. That cannot be the answer in 2026. That's it. I hadn't looked at it that way, Jason, because I was feeling it as a desperate question in a way. But you're right. If somebody beats out Sikorsky and he helps you with depth, that should lift. That should lift the O-line overall, I would think.
I think so. That's how I see it. But hey, a lot of speculation going on in this show today.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Very speculative. Very speculative. We'll see if any of these names end up mattering or not. I am going to keep Matt Henry's name in mind just because I wonder, does he end up somewhere? A guy that played that much at Troy. He's a pretty highly rated guy in terms of the rankings and PFF and all that, but it's at Troy. I also wondered if Texas had any film when they were checking out Caldwell that would have had Matt Henry on the line, right? You wouldn't have to go get new film. He's right there. Theoretically,
think about that. Yeah,
with Caldwell.
6'4", 360. You talk about sticking a body in there. I mean, he can take up space. Just stand in front of somebody. So.
And if I'm seeing it right, he would be projected as, if he came back to Troy, he would be projected as their right guard. He allowed no sacks in 9 games last year that he appeared in. So for whatever that's worth, I'll keep that one. I think Tyrell Green's a name I might put to the side. As from what we've pointed out here today, kind of Purdue, but not really Purdue. I don't know. That one I think I'm setting aside.
Tyrell Green, parts unknown. Nobody even knows where he is.
He's like a wrestler back in the day. He's from parts unknown. That's where the Ultimate Warrior was from, I think. All right, before we close up here, let's also give Specs their love. I don't see any super chats right now, but when they come in, that's because of Specs. All the chat is because of Specs, and most of what you're drinking is probably because of Specs. Get stocked up.
Shop Specs! 60 years in the Lone Star State, a one-stop shop so you're never late. Price is so low that you want to know
which way to Specs.
Come on, let's go.
Specs, fine spirits and finer foods. World-class service, that's all about you. Shop Specs.
It's how we do. A huge selection since 62.
Shop Specs.
Low priced, amazing. Here's to you.
Shop.
Cheers to savings.
All right, Anwar Richardson, Mr. Old-Fashioned, during this cold, cold weather, do you have like a go-to dark liquor that helps you through the cold?
No, but Tom G did send me something recently that I did I had a little bit of on my Drunk Ugg show that was really, really good. I'm unprepared for the conversation because it was something nice, but by the time I walked away and you guys have an empty chair, it's not going to be worth the pop on it. But no. Just I was out on Saturday though. I did have an old fashioned though, so that will always be my go-to, especially if a restaurant has their own special old fashioned. That's always going to be my go-to.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, before we get out of here, looks like Money B wants to throw a little something at us. Money B, thank you for the $5 super chat. Unk, are you getting any of those texts throwing shade from the source these days?
Sources, not so far. I think because the heavy lifting is done and there's not really a lot of activity left. No one's really talking shit right about now, Money B. So I think everything's kind of just copacetic. Everybody just kind of go about their business. People being indoors. Actually, some people in the facility now. Some people brave the elements, but no, everyone's kind of chilling. Money B. Now before, right at Cam Coleman time and Hollywood Smothers and everything, everybody was talking their smack. Now I think everyone's just chilling.
Yeah. All
Speaking
right.
of the guys in the building, I saw Sark's on the road down in the Houston area today, so they're out recruiting today. Yeah. So.
There you go. Not letting the cold weather and a little bit of ice get the travel schedule messed with. Money Beat, thank you very much for that. So overall, Texas fans, probably a in Sark you trust, in Kyle Flood you trust. As nervous as that could make you saying it, but you might want to say that over and over to yourself as we roll through. And yeah, that'll be the plan in 2026. But just maybe keep the name Matt Henry in your pocket. Just keep it in your pocket. Matt Henry.
One name we didn't even mention, we just kind of gloss over him. Jonte Newman was, someone asked about him in the chat. I mean, he was a pretty highly regarded recruit. I mean, he's young. I get it. He didn't play at A&M, but the guy's got potential. Is he ready to come in and contribute? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how he looked at A&M behind the scenes, but he's not some scrub player. I mean, he's not like some two-star guy. Jonte Newman was a four-star guy that Texas really wanted out of high school, obviously committed to A&M. Had some pretty big offers in Alabama, Oklahoma. So don't totally sleep on Jonte Newman. Yeah. I don't know if it'll be this year, but I mean, he's got some potential.
That's not a bad call, Jason, because everybody's going to make fun of the fact that it was a couple snaps against Samford. But it's also fair to point out, it's not like A&M's offensive line lacked talent this year, right? They had experienced guys on that offensive line that are now moving on. You know, Chapman and a lot of other, Newman and a lot of other guys just didn't have a spot to go get. That might be a fair point. Yeah, that's an interesting point.
And to your point, look, at this point, they just need one guy to pop, right? And they don't, you guys have raised that. They've got 4. They need one. They've got bodies. And so realistically, you say, okay, we've got 4 bodies or so competing for this position. Can you get one? And then one doesn't have to be a future NFL high draft pick. He doesn't have to be the Gooseby of the line. He just has to be your Zach Shackelford equivalent, right? Just be good. Like, you don't have to be great. Just be good enough to be serviceable. And if you could do that, then you can talk to yourself into, we didn't get what we wanted, but we're going to make this work. That becomes a task. Is you don't have to make everyone hit, but you just got to make sure you get one.
Hey, let me scare you guys real quick. Think about how this conversation is going to go next year. You're going to lose your left tackle, your right tackle, your center, probably your right guard. We don't know what's going to be like. We might be talking about replacing 4 offensive line starters next year.
Hell, and that's before you get to the quarterback, your 2 wide receivers, right? So what that looks like, and then anything from the running back position, and then before you get to the defensive side with Colin Simmons and everything. If 2026 has to be the year, because I don't care what anyone says, 2027 is a rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be rough. So in 2027, if Sark says we're going to address offensive line in the portal, Anwar, I need 5 of you in that room to stop him and go, whoa, can you clarify exactly what you mean by that? Because there's a lot.
So you guys want confrontation between me and Sark, or us and Sark. It's like that. That's what you guys want. You guys just want to watch a fight, is what that is.
Money B, you're not wrong, dude. We need to let's just enjoy 2026.
Yes, right, please. Jason's going. It's just like the super chat that came in later about, okay, so who's the second line? Oh, easy now. Come on, we're trying to figure out.
we're trying to get one. We're trying to get one done, let alone part 2.
Trying to do 1s and you're focusing on 2s. Come on now. Thank you guys for the chat.
I viewed it as a challenge of where we were. Did we know the team? That's what I viewed it as. I viewed it as, do these guys actually know what the hell they're talking about, more so than anything else?
Yeah, it was a test. That was a test for you guys. That's absolutely true. All right. Thank you guys for liking, subscribing, getting your notifications. Check out orangebloods.com for all the great content. Let me throw up that QR code one more time. Orangebloods.com. All the recruiting stuff. Jason's 321 article is out there. Anwar, obviously, with the Sunday pulpit on Sundays. He put out the Tuesday intel piece. Always little notes and nuggets and news coming out as soon as the guys hear about it. So check it out. Orangebloods.com. Get signed up. You know you've always wanted to, or your dad has always wanted to, or your uncle's thought about it. Make it a birthday present for somebody. Orangebloods.com. Get signed up, and you will never leave. We appreciate you guys. I'll leave that QR code up as we close. Until next Tuesday, at noon. This is the Modcast on Orange